My next guest has written a piece called The 5 Lies of Critical Race Theory. Recall the Project Veritas video of the Georgia education consultant literally bragging that while CRT is illegal in that state of Georgia, he is nevertheless inserting his curriculum right under their noses.
Is critical race theory illegal in the schools here?
It is banned. It's still banned in the schools. So
But not your curriculums.
Exactly. And on top of that, if you don't say the word critical race theory, you can technically teach it. And people don't know what critical race theory is. So when they see the word, they're like,
Alarm goes off.
alarm goes off. Yeah, I hate to say it, but like parents aren't teachers.
Parents are ignorant.
They are.
And so you're making money off of ignorant parents.
And these kids are also pushing against their parents too. Like, Mom, that's not right. You shouldn't say that.
Well, that's the goal.
Yeah, eventually. To get the kids to influence their parents to make the shift too.
So if parents aren't coming into schools, then the teachers can go and see what they want, right?
So, in your face! So what are the 5 CRT lies? 1, CRT is not taught in schools. Oh no! CRT is just a way of giving marginalized folks a voice that they haven't had before. 3, CRT is not Marxist. 4, those who oppose CRT just don't want history taught. And number 5, the criticism of CRT is only a cynical ploy by these dastardly Republicans. Please welcome Mike Gonzalez with the Daily Wire. He's also an academic at the Heritage Foundation and author of a brand new book, BLM, The Making of a New Marxist Revolution. Mike, the one that stands out for me the most is that CRT opponents don't want history taught. What?
Thank you for having me on. First of all, as an opponent of CRT, somebody who believes that it is bad for our children, bad for our country, I oppose it with my very being. I could tell you that I not only do I not want Black history to be taught, nobody I work with has ever said anything along those lines. None of the people, whether it's Chris Rufo or James Lindsay or Lindsay Burke or Jonathan Butcher, anybody inside Heritage, outside of Heritage, you, Nicole Niley, all of us want Black history to be taught. Critical race theory and Black African studies, as Governor Ron DeSantis just showed in Florida, that is not Black history. That is seeing reality through a communist lens.
Mike, when I was, I think it was middle school, had a history book. It was by a guy named Muzzie, I believe, M-U-Z-Z-I-E, something like that. I don't know why I remember that name. And it had notable Black historical figures on one side of a page. That's a million years ago. History is taught, American history is taught, Black history is taught as part of American history. I always thought that history was history. I mean, the days of Black people not being taught about slavery, about Jim Crow, only a handful of historical Black figures is, as I said, eons ago.
Yeah, I think it's a tragedy that so many of our students cannot even recognize Frederick Douglass when they see a picture of him. They think it's Einstein, or cannot even recognize Booker T. Washington, or even somebody I disagree with, like W.B. Du Bois, right? A Marxist, but who had interesting and important things to say. I think Marcus Garvey, I think, trust me, I want more of this history to be taught. And everybody in my space wants more Black history to be taught because it is part of American history. It should not be hived off and sectioned off as its own thing. It's the history of the country. I don't have to tell you that.
Mike, when I grew up, the most prominent Black magazine was Ebony. Ebony's still around, doesn't have the same footprint it used to have. And every year they had a feature called the 100 Most Influential Black Americans. And in recent years, it omits Walter Williams, omits Thomas Sowell, omits Clarence Thomas, for crying out loud. However you feel about Clarence Thomas, as one of 9 members of the Supreme Court, he by definition is influential, not included in Ebony magazine.
It's that exclusion of conservative views that gives the lie to the word diversity, because it's not diversity, it's liberal leftist people of all colors, but it is a uniformity, a rigidly policed uniformity of views.
Give me your definition, give me a definition, a standard, acceptable, agreed upon definition of critical race theory.
I'll give you Derek Bell's. He's the godfather of critical race theory in the 70s and 80s. He said it was a revolutionizing theory, a revolutionizing body of thought, and any attempt at changing, transforming a society had to begin with a critical assessment of it. And that that's pretty close to what he said, actually. And he said it was revolutionizing. He wanted it to be something to overthrow the existence of system with, and put in place an alternative system.
You lost me. One of the proponents is a Columbia law professor. I'm sure you know who she is, Kimberly Crenshaw.
Yeah.
And after the death of Tyree Nichols, following the beating of by those 5 black Memphis police officers, she wrote something to the effect of, that was an example of structural anti-black police racism, where they are, quote, targeting communities of color, close quote. And I wrote, well, the fact is, if you look at the 75 most populous counties in America, blacks at 13% of the population commit 60% of the homicides, of the robberies, of the shootings. That's why the cops are there. A young black man, ages 10 to 34, Mike, is 13 times more likely to be murdered than a young white male the same age. Almost always that murderer is a young black male. That's why the police are there. And 81% of blacks, according to Gallup, want the police in their neighborhoods to have their manpower maintained or to be increased. This is what this critical race theory leads us to.
No, exactly. And it really is a shame that communities have to go unpoliced because of these wrong-headed policies. I was just in New York, and I saw heavy police presence in the subway at 42nd Street or 34th Street. I took the subway in Harlem at 125th Street. There was zero police presence. That is not fair. That is not fair to places that want order, that want to be able to enjoy lives as Americans, just like the people on 42nd Street and 34th Street do. It's not people who are well off who are going to be hurt by this. I've been poor in my life, Larry, and I can tell you that I know who's going to be hurt by this is the poor.
What's that? The great Eldersky has in his baby brown libertarian fingers a tan pair of MyPillow My Slippers. Indeed he do. Call the number on your screen, get your own pair, and make sure that you use MyPillow.com, promo code ELDER, if you want to do it online. And remember, Mike has over 100 products, including, of course, the product that started it all, the MyPillow. They come in different sizes. You've never slept on anything so comfortable. Call the number on your screen or go to MyPillow.com, promo code ELDER. And here is the 6-pack, including the MyPillow My Towels. They actually work. Mike found out that because of some chemicals they put in towels over the last several years, the towels you find in stores often look great, feel great, but they don't work great because they are not absorbent. These towels do what towels are supposed to do, not just cover you up, but also to absorb the water. They come in different colors, of course. And then there's the MyPillow Giza Dream Sheet. Giza is in Egypt, where the finest cotton is found. Mike scoured the world to find this cotton, and he settled on cotton in Egypt, in Giza. They come in different colors. Mine, of course, is white because I am the black face of white supremacy. What other color would I have? But you are not the black face of white supremacy. You might want a different color. They come in different colors and, of course, different sizes. Call the number on your screen or go to MyPillow.com, promo code ELDER, MyPillow.com, promo code ELDER. Mike, I just read a piece written by this guy who says the police ought not police traffic stops anymore. Ought not pull over people for violating traffic laws. Who's that going to hurt? Safe drivers and pedestrians living in the very areas, black and brown areas, that people on the left claim that they care about.
You know, with this Memphis, we don't have the information yet. We need to wait until the investigation is done. But there's a lot of questions to be asked here. Who hired these 5 policemen? How were they trained? Were standards lowered? You know, what happened here? What decisions were made? And I think until there's a thorough investigation, and I hope one is done that's free of politics. I would like to refrain from commenting on it, but by golly, we need to get to the bottom of this.
Well, I have read that they did lower standards in Memphis, not only standards about strength and endurance, but also about minor instances in their backgrounds. The biggest police scandal in the history of LA, where I am, Mike, is the Rampart scandal, which inspired the movie Training Day starring Denzel Washington. The lead guy, his name was Rafael Perez, was turned down by half a dozen law enforcement agencies before the LAPD hired him because he had gang affiliations. He never should have been a cop. He was a thug who was hired as a cop.
Yeah, and that is, again, as I said, with Memphis, we need to have a real thorough investigation of this. So what happened there was not right. We all saw what happened. It was not right. It was gut-wrenching, and we need to get to the bottom of it.
And that's the thing. Nobody is defending it. Nobody is defending it. Everybody is saying it's not right. These are bad cops. We ought to be talking about good cops, irrespective of their color. I want to speak briefly about your book about Black Lives Matter. I did a documentary called Uncle Tom 2, where we talked a lot about the Black Lives Matter movement. And I talked in Uncle Tom 2 about how black people, after slavery, despite KKK, despite Jim Crow, still kept moving forward. Why? A belief in God. And BLM, by definition, they're Marxists. Marx wanted to dethrone God. A belief in Judeo-Christian values. Marx, as I said, was an atheist. Entrepreneurship, and Marx opposed private property and opposed capitalism, and a belief in American values, even though those values were not being realized when it pertained to black people. All of those foundations are under assault by BLM.
And you forget one more. Marx, in the manifesto, says, abolish the family. The same thing that BLM said had.
I'm sorry,
in its list.
You're right. I did forget that. That's the big one. They had it on their website. They attacked the nuclear intact family as some sort of superficial European construct. You're right.
Until I wrote about it for the New York Post in July of 2020, and that got at least 1 million hits on the Heritage website alone. I don't know how much it got on the New York Post, and all of a sudden, like good Marxists as they are, they erased it from history. They took it out. Except you can find it in other Black Lives Matter sites. Look, I should make it very clear that I embrace the concept. I like to wear the T-shirt. Of course, Black Lives Matter. You have to be a nutter not to think that Black Lives Matter is the organization that was founded. The organizations, plural, was founded by committed Marxists who were trained in Marxism-Leninism, by people who were disciples of Antonio Gramsci, who knew exactly what they were doing. And they recruited them years before the creation of Black Lives Matter, and they trained them for 10 years. This is what we need to explain to people, because they're using beautiful words like Black Lives Matter, like diversity, equity, and inclusion, to mean things that are the opposite.
Of course, Black Lives Matter. My problem is racism has never been a less significant issue in America than today. We've elected and reelected a black president, for crying out loud, who got a higher percentage of the white vote than John Kerry did 4 years earlier. So what are we talking about? Your final thoughts, Mike.
Well, John Kerry is going around saying that we look, sure, this war with Putin is really bad, but he hopes to continue to work with Russia on climate change initiatives. I think he's lost his bearings a little bit.
Mike Gonzalez, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Larry. It's a real pleasure for me.
My pleasure. I know you guys are liking these giveaways, and this time is going to be the best one yet. Are you ready for this giveaway? I want to invite you to join me at dinner at one of my favorite restaurants. That's right, you heard me right. Fine dining with the great Eldersky. We can talk about anything you want, and I'll answer all your questions. Well, almost all your questions. It'll be a great time for sure. So hurry up and go to winlarry.com to sign up. I'll be announcing the winner live on February 22nd, so make sure to stay tuned. Now be sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button, and then scroll down. You'll see where you can become a member of our mailing list. Why? Well, because every now and then, for reasons that I find unfathomable, YouTube has issues with our videos. So to make sure you get all of our videos, don't miss anything, get on our mailing list. And you see that donate button? hit that. Throw a little something in the tip jar. Make sure we keep getting you honest, hard-hitting programming. And remember, Larry with Epoch, E-P-O-C-H, LarryWithEpoch.com, LarryWithEpoch.com. I'm Larry Elder. This has been the Larry Elder Show for Epoch Times. Remember, we've got a country to save. I'll see you next time.